Here at Sierra Adventure Vehicles, we get a ton of questions from van owners about how to prioritize their van upgrades. We've organized van upgrades into 3 stages. Stage 1, the weekend camper. This is for folks who like to drive on pavement from organized campground to organized campground. So we're starting with our Stage 1 upgrade. This again is for weekend campers using asphalt to get from campground to campground. So with our Stage 1 builds, we're going to organize the upgrades into 3 categories. The first is storage. The second is capability. And the third is protection/safety. Revel comes off the dealer lot with inadequate storage. So there's a number of products and manufacturers on the market to solve storage issues. This particular van has an owl setup, and there's a couple things here we'll look at. The first is a spare tire/ladder combo. That spare tire out from underneath the van where it's hard to reach, puts it right here where we can grab it if we have a flat. This also combines the spare tire carrier with a ladder. Helps us get right up on the roof. You step here, you're up on the roof, no problem. On the passenger side, we've got the B2. So that's the frame you see here that goes from hinge to door. That frame can carry a number of products. What we've got with this setup you're seeing today is the large Expedition box. Our large Expedition box is always equipped with what we need for camping. So we've got everything from the kitchen sink, so to speak, all the way up to cleaning products and recovery and tools and everything we need to ensure we have what we're going to need when we're out in the field. Above 2 1-up bike carriers. We love these products. They're very well made in the USA. They work great for road bikes, mountain bikes, e-mountain bikes, and you can even put a Super 73 or a heavy e-bike up there. You probably need help getting it up there, and there's a kit that'll allow you to run a wider tire here. In addition to the storage components in the back of the van, folks need to get in and out of their van during their camping trips. That's called the garage on a Revel. You'll notice after you take a couple trips in and out of the van, the factory bumper's not really big enough to step on. So there's a number of solutions out there for folks to get in and out of their van safely. There's a couple products on the market where you put a step right in the hitch. We like this. We even use this one in the winter with ski boots on. It's got a very nice grip on it, and it's safe to do so. We also like the Van Compass Tug Step. Anytime you're putting a product on your van, if it can serve 2 purposes, that's a good solution. So it makes a great step, all-weather step all the time. And then the reason it's called a tug step is there's an anchor point here where you can put a shackle or soft shackle and have a recovery point for your van. Category 2 of our Stage 1 weekend camper is capability. When we talk about capability enhancements for the van, let's start at the ground and work our way up. Starting at the ground, the first thing we'll talk about is tires. For most customers, we recommend a 275/70/17 tire. What that means is it's 275 millimeters wide. The 70 is an aspect ratio of the 275. So if 275 millimeters wide is 10 inches, the 70 is about 7 inches. 17 means the diameter of the wheel. So from here to here is 17 inches. So if we go up to a 275/70/17, we've purchased a 32-inch tire, which gives us about 1 inch of ground clearance right off the bat. We haven't even talked about suspension yet. What a 275/70/17 tire gives you is more contact patch, both directions, longer and wider. It also gives you a taller sidewall. The taller sidewall provides more dampening and comfort as you start to take your van into gravel roads or places where you're going to receive bumps. It gives you more sidewall to work with and more sidewall to protect this wheel. So you're probably asking yourself, is that large a tire going to fit on my van without any other modifications? Well, that's a great question. In order to fit a 32-inch tire or 275/70 on your van, there's just one other minor upgrade that's required. This piece of plastic right here replaces a factory piece of trim and moves the mud flap back to ensure that that larger tire clears the rear of the fender well. the front will clear without any modification at all. By far, our favorite upgrade on this van is the suspension. We like to say at the shop, it's the only enhancement that you get to use for every single mile that you drive your van. We'll talk a little bit about what we see here in a second. Let's just talk about why you need to upgrade your suspension first. Any van rolls away from the builder heavier than it came from Mercedes. It's undersprung, it's underdampened, and it's often even squatting in the rear. So correcting the suspension is the very first significant upgrade all Sprinter owners should do. Yes, it provides some lift, and that's great, but what it really does is improve your ride every single mile. It stops that swaying boat feeling that you get. It stops the sloppy sort of bounce that you experience, and it stops that diving of the nose when you apply the brakes. All of those issues are gone with the Ride Improvement Package or RIP Kit from Agile. So we mentioned two issues we're trying to solve with the RIP Kit, Ride Improvement Package, or really any suspension solution. The first is undersprung. So when this van takes on 3,000 additional pounds of build, it's undersprung. The way that Agile handles that is with this coil-over kit, adding spring rate to our factory struts. That coil-over kit can be used with your factory strut or a Bilstein strut upgrade like you see here, or even a Coney strut, which provides some additional adjustability. So that's the spring rate. The dampening, or how well we're modulating or soaking up those bumps, that comes from the auxiliary shock. So on our van, we have a 2-inch Fox shock with a bracket kit that connects the van to the lower control arm. So those two systems, the additional dampening and the additional spring rate work together to improve our ride, to stop the dive, to stop the sway, to give us a more confident feeling for every single mile we drive this van. Let's move to the rear of the van, where we're trying to address the same two challenges, underdampened and undersprung. We replaced the factory shocks with 2-inch Fox shocks or 2.5-inch Fox shocks. This particular van has 2-inch Fox shocks with remote reservoir, which would be the upgraded shock option available to you. We could talk lots of shock options with our customers. If you move on to spring rate, what we have in the front is the factory Mercedes 2-leaf parabolic spring. That spring is designed to sort of work for all vans okay and none great. So what customers get when they come to our shop, the first step is we weigh the rear axle of your van here at our shop. Then we select one of 5 spring options that allow us to pick the spring that fits your van weight. This 8-leaf progressive spring pack provides lift, but what it really does is provide controlled progressive spring rate for all situations and all speeds that your van might see. The last topic we're going to cover under capability is a DTE pedal box. There are a number of pedal devices on the market. We find the German manufacturer DTE to be the best. Let's take a look inside the van, see if we can explain what it does for you. Sprinter vans are notorious for sluggish acceleration. You might feel like when you press the pedal down, the van ignores you. That's because it is. Mercedes has essentially programmed this van to ignore an aggressive pedal response. If you ever tried to pull out in a roundabout and thought, nah, I'm not going to get in front of that other car, or tried to pass another vehicle on the freeway and thought, I'm not going to make it by the next exit, that's because when you push that accelerator down, you're expecting the van to take off, and it's essentially ignoring you. What the DTE pedal box does is allow that input to actually make its way to the motor and turn on the acceleration. It's not like the old days where there was a cable and you push the pedal down and it pulls back open a throttle body. In modern cars, they're all fly-by-wire, which means my pedal is basically just reading an input and telling the computer what to do, and it may or may not like what it's seeing. The pedal box has a number of modes to choose from, so that when yours is installed, and we install them here at the shop for free if you purchase them here, the pedal box has a number of modes to choose from. You may not want to be on the aggressive mode all the time. But you can see here, we're on Sport in the plus setting, and we can change that on our phone before we go for a ride or let someone else drive our van. But the point is, when we push that gas pedal, we want it to react. The last category on stage 1 is protection/safety. Easy upgrade that you can do for your van is to replace the factory horn. All Sprinter van customers know that their factory horn is too quiet and just isn't heard by other motorists. We offer a number of solutions for horn replacement kits. This van has Agile's dual PIAA kit, which makes a deeper sound that other motorists could hear if they need to. Let's talk about protection for the underside of your Sprinter van for a moment, and we'll work down the van from front to back. The very first product is the engine skid plate. Again, there are a number of manufacturers that offer an engine skid plate. This particular van has the Van Compass kit. It's a 2-part skid plate. The front, which you see painted in black, protects the front of the motor, and then this aluminum skid plate behind protects the back of the motor. Oftentimes, a Sprinter owner will come in and cite some sort of charging issue with their house battery system. And what that typically can be is damage to the conductor on the front of their secondary alternator, the dedicated alternator for the house system, which is right here. Without this skid plate, any minor off-roading or any sort of obstacle that you might drive over is going to damage either the conductor itself or the alternator maybe. This skid plate protects the entire front of the motor, including that alternator and its wiring. Behind the engine skid plate are the transmission and transfer case skid plate. Protects both of those vulnerable components from being damaged by a rock or something else you might drive over. Let's make our way down the van and we'll talk about the last key component of protection down here. The factory Mercedes axle comes with a stamped sheet metal differential cover. Bolts onto the back of the axle, much like this cover you see here. The difference is this thin sheet metal can hit a rock or some other obstacle off-road. It peels back the edge and you'll dump your gear oil, which means you can't drive another mile without it. There's 2 solutions to that. Differential skid plate, which we offer here. Van Compass makes a great product for that. Or a rear differential cover replacement, like we see here from Agile Off-Road. Another protection upgrade that we should point out in our van is this wheel speed sensor guard. In modern Sprinter vans, many of the systems that you rely on need to know the wheel speed in order to work. Traction control, stability control, adaptive cruise control. None of those systems work if they can't read this wheel speed as this wheel is going around. On our van, in the first few winters we had it, we broke wheel speed sensors just by driving through snow and ice. Snow and ice would pack on here, it would break off in a big chunk, it would snap the wheel speed sensor or the wire that plugs into it. Agile developed this cover with some input from us to protect that wheel speed sensor so we don't lose those systems on a road trip or just around town due to ice or some other object damaging them. The last upgrade we're going to cover under our stage 1 safety category is the big brake kit. For any Sprinter owner who has an upgraded van, they notice right away that it doesn't stop the way it should. This van was 5,300 pounds when it went from Mercedes to Winnebago. As it sits today, with the build out and our gear and the occupants in it, it's 8,800 pounds on the wheels. That makes me feel very unsafe with factory brakes. When you're on the freeway and you get off at a short exit, it doesn't feel like you're going to be able to stop by the bottom. If someone does something you're not expecting in front of you, it doesn't feel like you can react quickly enough. It just doesn't feel safe with the factory brakes. Agile Off-Road worked with Alcon to develop a Sprinter-specific brake package. Alcon's been making brake systems since 1983, from everything from Formula One to armored vehicles. They certainly know how to make a brake product that works for a Sprinter van. The size of this brake system is the same size you would find on a Ford F550 Super Duty. And what this progressive braking system does for you is it gives you that confidence back. This weighs twice what a normal SUV weighs, and you feel safe in it again. You feel like you can stop in any situation. In fact, I feel like I can stop faster than most cars with this brake system installed.